Hello and welcome yet again to another episode of Red State Blues, formerly the Ben and Melanie Show, still the Ben and Melanie Show, but lots of Red State Blues, I suppose, because it's still Ben and Melanie. Sorry, it's hard for me to get over dramatic name changes. I don't know. I'm afraid of change.
I know it'll be okay.
Deep down, I really am a conservative. I'm just afraid of change. I want things to just stay the same forever. I'm never. Anyway.
Whatever.
Yep. So I'm Ben here with Melanie.
I'm here and I'm sick and I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You hear me cough and sniff.
I dragged Melanie into this today. Against her wishes, but she's here. Yeah. Yeah, it's really good to be doing another episode here. It's been a couple weeks since our last one, so
Yep.
I'm glad we got the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, believe me, we want to do this sometimes, several times a week, and it's just a matter of we don't have a babysitter and consistently, and so that's just it. But we will not stop making this podcast. We'll keep it going.
Yeah, no, it really is just a matter of childcare a lot of the time for us, and time to do it, and but we love doing it. So
Yeah.
I guess this week I just wanted to start off by just thinking about. I just was thinking about. I mean, I think I read a comment on Reddit that made me think about it. I don't even know what even brought it up, but I was reading a comment about it. I'm just thinking of in the grand scheme of things, in the last 10 years or even 20 years living in Michigan, I feel like things have improved in my mind, largely. And I think that things have gone downhill for many, and it's been a roller coaster, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to look at where we were versus where we are. And I actually see it as Michigan, at least, is better off right now. I think that it's been in a long time.
What makes you think that, Ben?
Well, I should say this because I think to start with, voting rights have been greatly expanded in Michigan and
That's true.
also constitutionally mandated too. And so now, because everybody here can vote easily, and vote absentee easily and get everything like that done. They have. I mean, basically, we now have expanded access to reproductive health care, I should say.
Yep.
We also have legal marijuana. We are on the road to overturning whether you agree with it or disagree with it, I think we're on the road to overturning right to work legislation.
Yep.
So if you're a member of a union, you have to pay dues, you know. But this will be good for unions if you support unions, I suppose. I suppose that's partisan as well, but I do. I just feel like this state is actually... I think if you went to 2012, I think if you were 10 years ago, I don't think you would have ever thought pot was just going to be being sold in Stanton, Michigan.
Not at all.
At
Not
three
at
separate pot shops. Yeah,
Right.
in fact, it's oversaturated probably, right? And, it's just it's suddenly becoming Little Amsterdam.
Yep.
Or something. It's just what the hell is even going on around here? I don't even know. Is Michigan's probably making a lot of money as a tourism state for this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Get your one-stop shopping. Get your pot and abortion in the same. Okay, that's bad. That's bad. That's how. That's not
be that.
Yeah. But
I wish nobody would have to do that. I wish that 10-year-old girl didn't have to go to Indiana,
Yeah, no, from Ohio, yeah. Because, I mean, if you look at Ohio. I mean, it's gone the opposite direction.
We knew we didn't like Ohio.
There's pretty
here
much
in
banned
Michigan.
abortion outright, even in cases of rape and incest.
Right.
They've just gone batshit over the edge. And I think largely the main difference is between Michigan and Ohio because they're both purple states.
Yeah.
Michigan's very purple. There's a lot of Democrats and Republicans here. A lot of Democrats and Republicans in Ohio too. But I think the main difference is that Michigan managed to somehow barely survive it or created gerrymandering, help fix the gerrymandering thing.
Yeah, and had an independent council do it so that they could do like a
independent districting commission,
Yeah,
right? Is that
yeah.
independent citizens commission?
Yeah.
I think is what it's called.
so that
Right.
they had to be like equal. When
Yeah, well, so I mean, it wasn't up to any politicians.
right.
They took the politicians right out of it.
And that's
I mean,
what-
they I think the commissions consisted of a couple Democrats, a couple Republicans,
Some
and
independents,
some
too.
independents or something like that. But they all just have to be just regular people.
Yep, they couldn't be
They're
politicians.
not politicians or lobbyists or anybody involved with the system. So they actually came to like these begrudging compromises that only feels like people outside of that system can
Yep.
kind of come to.
Yep.
And that actually was a success, and really
That's where Ohio failed.
that's where Ohio failed. Yeah, you're
Because they
absolutely
let
right.
the politicians have control over it, and so they just didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
They just didn't want to do it.
Yep. You're right.
I think Ohio's crazy too for the trans people in sports law. I mean, nobody should be checking anybody's genitalia before a sports team.
I don't even know why
Game.
people are even obsessed
I don't
with this
even
so much. I
understand
don't know
that.
what's even yeah.
I don't even
Well,
understand
whatever.
that.
I don't. Yeah, Ohio apparently passed. This was all in an episode of This American Life from a few weeks ago. They talked about it. You know what I mean? But Ohio has passed every batshit crazy thing you could pass. You know.
Yeah.
Because it's that only a very small percentage of people actually would agree with. So anyway, but I just think that's interesting. And U of M just annihilated Ohio by the way in the last game. So.
Not that I care about
I just
sports,
that's
but
all I'm trying to say is like you can have guns. People in Michigan still have their guns. Right?
that's what matters to conservatives.
I know.
here.
I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to reach out with an olive branch.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm not even going to approach that right now. Sorry. This is a complete sidetrack, but yeah, I really think that if you look at the whole picture, things are just really looking good for this state right now. Much needed increase in tax revenue by, I'm assuming, taxing marijuana sales, probably largely, but other things too. And they can use that for road funding, school funding, everything they need to use it for. Have
Right.
better everything, you know.
We need to work on getting the movies back here again too. Doing some kind of tax incentive or whatever to get the movies back.
That was pretty
in
cool
here.
when they had that.
That was pretty neat.
I know, they were
I was
filming-
excited about that. I'm like, woo, Michigan's in a movie.
Yeah, I know.
Like, that's
that was
pretty
pretty
neat.
neat. I agree. I don't know if that's at the top of my priority list, really, but it's not a bad idea. It's
Because then it could bring
yeah,
in more
I know.
tourism money.
You're actually right.
of visiting places that
there
are in
might be more
movies.
to it than what I'm actually thinking.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
probably is more money involved than what I'm actually thinking. I'm filming a movie. They have filmed movies in Grand Rapids
Yep.
and stuff like that, but I mean, not in a long time now. And if now they film everything in Georgia and stuff. So I mean,
Yep.
like maybe they should try to bring the movie industry back here a little bit. You're right.
Yeah.
You're
think
right. If
they
they have,
should.
especially if they have extra money.
We need to increase the pure Michigan tourism.
I really think the goal needs to be ultimately, let's make this state like a little bit of a Scandinavia of the U.S. and try to get universal health insurance and stuff like that just in the state. I mean,
Yep.
just if we got extra money, from legalizing drugs, whatever, let's just try to like take care of people, children, families, everybody in this state. Let's just take care of them. Make sure
Yeah.
everybody here has health insurance. Make a health insurance a right.
Right.
In fact, pass a constitutional amendment
Right.
to make health insurance
We
a
should
right.
make a bill of human rights for the state of Michigan that includes health, clean air, clean water, the right to food. I think that should be in there too, because nobody should be starving. We make enough food in this country to feed everyone.
Well, I agree with all that. I mean, I would say that's maybe one step at a time.
I know.
That's
I get all gung ho about that.
I don't disagree with you.
I believe in caring for
but I
each
feel
other.
like if you throw everything into one,
Yeah, it's too much,
thing,
and everybody's
it's not
heads
gonna,
explode.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just
Yep.
think start with one issue. So like it's like the voting rights access. Like that's the one issue that they wanted and they got it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like really really make one issue the thing. You're gonna fight for whatever it is. That's what I think. And then
Yeah.
if that's your thing, then get money donated to it. You can affect the system.
Right. Definitely.
Voters, not politicians, prove that. Yeah.
Yep.
So
You have the ability now to focus on the state and actually get something done here now that it's drawn fairly, which we did not have that option before. And we can do a lot of repair work and a lot of things here in the state that other places can't.
I think addressing poverty through like what we were saying too is there's various ways of addressing it.
Well, I was thinking of the free lunch program that they got rid of federally, so we should take the drug money and support that. Pay for everybody's school lunch. Well, I mean, even
if you got to raise taxes, just raise taxes.
Yeah, that too. I don't care.
On rich people. That's fine. I know rich people hate Whitmer anyway. It's not going to change how they vote. They're already going to vote against her. Yep, they hate her already. Yep. So you might as well. You know what I mean? Raise taxes on rich people, not poor people.
Yeah, poor people pay enough.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah. Raise taxes on rich people to it.
Poor people pay in their health too. I mean, so much. Not just like paying higher taxes, but the grind for survival is really, really difficult when you're on the lower.
Well, I think that should be the goal at this point should be trying to make. I think anyway, and me and you were talking about this before we started. Maybe the goal now, if you're running a functioning government, should be attempt to give people is the least amount of stress as possible.
Yep.
And by stress, you can't avoid stress. Like obviously, the richest people in the world are super stressed out. The poorest people are stressed out. Everybody is stressed out over whatever. But to make people not have to deal with a level of survival stress, like where they don't know where the next meal's coming from, or like they don't know how they're going to pay their rent, or they don't know how they're going to
clothe their kids.
Yeah, or take their kids
for lunch.
Take any kids into the hospital or whatever. I know.
Yep, that too.
Like having to pay medical bills should not be something. I keep going back around to the medical issue. But I feel like that is just it's a system that's obviously broken. I think everybody on both sides can agree the medical system is completely just batshit crazy with the bills, craziness. You know what I mean? Like we have health insurance and we have fairly good health insurance. I like to think, but I still get tons of bills every time I go in for like some sort of test or whatever and it seems ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's just like, wow, I'm paying this much, but they bill them thousands. You know what I mean? And
and the same thing can cost a different amount of money depending whether you have insurance, what kind of insurance you have. I mean, the prices seem to change on different kinds of things.
I would argue that people know that, and that's what I'm saying. So that seems to be something where we could have like a bipartisan solution to.
Yeah, you would think so.
Like instead of a lot of the other things we named, apparently everybody's going to disagree with, but maybe we could come to some sort of better healthcare system in the state, even one that focuses more on preventive stuff. That's. I mean, I don't know. How that would even work.
Prevention would go back to less stress. Like I think that survival stress. Because you can go to different countries and their stress level, even if they're poor, I mean, abjectly poor, their stress level is lower than people in the Americas. And I think that there's some kind of, especially in the Midwest, it's shame. You also have the societal shame pressure on you as well as the stress of trying to survive and trying to work a job and trying to make the money go, you know what I mean? There's some kind of other thing going on here that doesn't happen in other countries.
Yeah, we have like a workaholic society. Like if you're not working your ass off constantly at everything, like you're right, you're like shamed into
bootstrapping it, right?
Into having to work more, I suppose.
And you shouldn't ask for help. That's another thing.
Yeah, there's that too.
In other countries, they have, they believe in taking care of each other. They help each other. They're not so individualized.
Well, when things are really bad, I think people tend to come together.
Yeah.
A lot. And maybe that's something that like things are sort of in this weird in-between spot in the United States where like things are like not really, really bad and everybody wants to be very self-reliant. But things are kind of like at a low level of kind of bad. I mean, so it's not like a third world level of poverty, but it's like...
People won't admit it.
Poverty, yeah, they're embarrassed.
They
Yeah,
won't
that's
admit that
true.
they're 7 months behind on their electric bill or whatever, or they're going to
That's true
places
too.
to
They're
get help.
super embarrassed. Yeah,
They'd rather go to other places and strangers to get help than tell their family.
that's true.
And that contributes to the mental health crisis that we have in this country as well. The depression, the stress, you know, all of that. All of that. And then why, like in the papers we've read recently, people, that went into school with us, the fairly young people, I mean, and they're just passing away, and it's not from COVID. And it's got to have some relationship to all the years everybody spent without any health care, all and the stress of trying to get a job during the recessions and stuff.
Yeah, I think yeah, that's. We were talking about how many people from our age groups have died. It does seem like a really, really high proportion
Yeah.
compared to
Previous
our
generations.
previous generations. Yeah, yeah, compared to our parents and grandparents at this age, like people who are dying large in their 30s and 40s. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like very lots, and for seemingly God knows why, who knows
Yep.
why.
It's always a
But,
surprise.
Yeah, it does seem like a surprise. All kinds of crazy medical problems and stuff like that. Not at all related to necessary choices that people necessary choices or anything. Just crazy medical problems that are like out of the blue and stuff like that. And it's just like, whoa, maybe if we had a better healthcare system, and just more security at a young age,
Yep.
kids would feel less stressed from a young age too. And I think that sometimes a stress from a young age can impact you later in life. So like you could, if you're having like all these like crazy survival type stresses when you're young, it could maybe when you're in your 30s and 40s that stuff could get triggered again.
Right.
You know what I mean? When you're having like stressful moments and maybe you have a heart attack, maybe you have some problem like that, stroke. I don't know.
But let's
And like
be
that's
let's be honest here though. Stress is cumulative.
Well, that's what I'm
Like,
saying. That's what I'm
If
saying.
you're a child in a poverty situation, you're going to have stress from day one, basically watching your parents try to survive, right? And then as you get older, because you have to struggle too, and then that compounds thing, and that's why people have such bad health outcomes when it's just compounding like that. So I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so if you get the stress when you're like from the ages of like 3 to like 7 or something, your family was like in dire straits, and and maybe that's the case. It just is the case a lot around in northern Michigan,
Yeah.
especially. But in Macomb County, it's a very poor county, too, and
Right.
in a lot of places, we don't have to have the level of impoverishment with the vast amount of wealth that also exists coinciding, like right next to it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like right next to it, there's just people with like seemingly unlimited money. And this is the case. Detroit is probably the best example of this.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But I mean, it's just the case throughout the state and throughout the state's history. Right. You have massive amounts of impoverished people all slaving away and working their asses off and losing everything all the time and constantly having to, change their lives and move around for jobs and stuff like that. Next to just this really stable upper class that just owns most of everything. And
Yep.
I mean, maybe that's a case for capital. That's how capitalism maybe, but I think Michigan's a great microcosm of that. There's just a lot of really wealthy people in this state, and they don't want to share it.
No.
Their version of sharing it is, in their minds, they are sharing it. Their version of sharing it is starting a factory. And
Or
putting
starting
people to work,
Enterprise.
or or doing something like that where they're going to really get a bunch of tax breaks. So they're not really sharing it anyway because they're essentially the government's funding it because they're getting a bunch of tax breaks anyway. So it's like they're not really, Anyway,
But they get their name put on it.
yeah, they get their name put on it. So that I would argue that their taxes need to go up, indeed, in order to lessen the poverty of people in northern Michigan, and maybe increase the levels of education too, which could increase their survival really. So they're not dropping dead at 30s and 40s in their 30s and 40s as much. And I'm saying northern Michigan because I say most. I'm sure if you look at most of the counties in the state, by far the poorest are probably in northern Michigan, but Macomb County definitely falls into the top. It's in the top 10 or whatever. And yeah.
Well, their little college scheme of like everybody get so in debt is coming back to haunt them because they're now saying there's some kind of enrollment cliff that's going to happen because
Oh, yeah.
people got out of college and they wouldn't have any kids, and now that group of kids is going to be coming in, and there's not going to be enough kids to keep all the colleges going. So colleges are going to disappear.
Well, they don't need to go to college at all. Why do you need to go to college if you can make $30 an hour just at a regular job without a college degree at all?
Right.
Why do you need to go to college? You're literally going to be making less
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the time with a college degree job.
Yep.
So yeah, that makes absolutely no sense. So if your purpose in going to college was to get a job, to make a lot of money, it's just that's not necessarily the answer.
Nope.
As it turns out.
Yeah.
Not that I think college is great.
And I
love
loved college too. It was great.
I love college way too much. I love my college years.
I learned a lot of
I
different
stayed
things.
in college way too long.
Yeah.
But I really, really think that college is like the most important thing for many people. But it's not a surefire way just to make money.
Correct.
Like it's like college. I mean, economists always say that. It seems like they're the ones saying like, oh, if you have a college degree, you're gonna make 25 to 50% more in your lifetime, or blah blah blah. But like there's no guarantee like that at all.
Not at all.
It's also you
Nope.
could get there's a million things like that are like, you could die if you walk outside your house and get struck by lightning on a rainy day or not. I don't know. Anyway, what are the odds? But
Yeah, I think that this these generations had to deal with a lot of stress because of that. The college debt.
with these generations, you mean millennials mostly,
Yeah.
and millennials in, I think our age, because I'm like right on the cusp of millennial and Gen Xer really. So I mean but then like right after me it comes millennials. But it seems like I've known now. It seems like there's multiple people in my class just dying, and it's just
dying.
like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming, I have no idea actually why that is. It's not that. It's not that other generations of people, you know what I mean? Like car accidents and cancer are like one thing, but it
Right.
just seems like random.
Random
Boom.
shit.
Yeah, just like,
I mean,
whoa.
weird stuff.
Yeah, out of nowhere. Serious medical problems that I think sometimes went undiagnosed.
Yeah, and maybe
just-
could have been found sooner for two reasons. A, if they'd had health care younger in their 20s, and B, if doctors didn't blow off people in their 20s and actually
Yeah, I
do
mean,
blood
maybe it's not
tests.
even if they had health care. Maybe it's just that if they were taken seriously.
Yeah.
That's
Or
that's
routine
that's- 'cause
checkups that-
I think a lot of people would agree that sometimes doctors, if you look all right, they're not going to take anything you say seriously, and you're young, you know what I
Right.
mean? And like that's just and why are we not spending the money again for anything like that? Because the system has been hypercapitalized.
And hypercapitalized,
Yeah.
and hyper specialized. So
Yep.
then they miss things all the time that a regular general practitioner, like I've said before
But-
on this program, I would have died if it hadn't been for a general practitioner.
Is it
knowing what to
impossible?
do.
It is impossible though for one person to like know everything. So maybe that is why general practitioners are kind of going away because there's too much knowledge for one person. It's just impossible.
Or
This isn't like a
that's
doctor in the
true.
cowboy days in
They
the
could make
1800s
it.
or something.
They could make it
Yeah.
so these tests are routine for everyone and not just people over 40. Like blood tests every time you come in for a well check
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. Well child. I mean the ones we go to physicals for every year. They should
Mm-hmm.
do blood tests that check for things like simple things like white blood cell count. Is there an infection or something wrong?
You
in
think
there?
that would be standard? Yeah,
Yeah. It's
I
not
thought
an
it was.
expensive test.
I thought it was.
I thought it was too, but apparently not.
Yeah, apparently not. I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Anyway, Michigan at least
Yeah.
is in the unique position, I think, to turn some of these things around.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hope that my message gets through to the powers that be. That do what you got to do. You got to. I guess I would say this to Republicans too, if they, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But like, we can change things for the better. I think we started talking about this at the very beginning of the podcast. But what is the definition of like a progressive? You know what I mean? It's like I think in my mind it's somebody who might embrace change more than fear it.
Right.
Where I see as maybe the fundamental difference between liberals and conservatives. Conservatives maybe fear the change.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't change.
Right.
Because even though I understand the fear. I understand the fear of change. Like, because some change can be bad and scary, but a lot of times, good things came with change, So, and that's where I think our I guess ancestors at this point, you know what I mean, our forebears or whatever, like they improved a lot of things, infrastructure and whatnot after World War II in this country, because they decided, even Republicans, conservatives, decided, you know what, we need to embrace some of these changes. Some of these technological changes are going to make our lives better.
Yeah.
Some of these improvements are going to make our lives better, We're going to modernize school systems. We're going to modernize roads. We're going to modernize infrastructure. We're going to, do all that. And I think that, we need to... I just think that there's some things that conservatives and progressives can agree on, and this is just one of them. You know what I mean? Like, addressing poverty, it just seems like it's just a no-brainer, I don't know. But, I know it's been tried a lot of times in the past, though. The Johnson administration, right, started, I think, Medicaid, which probably has actually saved a shit ton of lives.
Yep.
And they started low-income housing, you know what I mean, which also has given places to live for a lot of people. Yep, go ahead.
And as we saw during the pandemic, even just programs for food, for lunches and stuff, has improved the poverty rates of children.
But they have already taken those away largely. Correct.
Why?
Yeah, I agree.
Because if you do that, this is the thing that they're not making sense out of. And I never hear Republicans say this, but you know what the difference between Democrats and Republicans is? Democrats want to put money into prevention. Republicans don't want to deal with it until later. So they want to deal with it when it's a crime. So if you feed kids and everybody has enough food, nobody's going to be doing crimes. You know what I mean?
Well,
society won't have to pay later.
There's always going to be people that have mental illness that are going to commit crimes.
Yes, but I mean, out of desperation.
Yeah, out of those kind of things. Yeah, right.
Or trying to escape when they're a teenager because their life, they're poverty stricken and they don't have any future looking. They don't think they have a future, and so they're into drugs. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why this happens. Mm-hmm. But if you feed everybody, everybody has food. Everybody has shelter, everybody has health care, those types of things, then we wouldn't have a lot of the societal problems we have. So it's either paying on it before or you're going to pay for it later after death and destruction happens. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I would prefer prevention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. The other thing is, too, I think by having a substantial education system, a very good education system, you're going to help, that will pay itself off, too. Mm-hmm. I have to admit, Macomb County, I think, is actually better than a lot of places. The further north you go, it gets pretty. In some places, I think it gets pretty rustic. Macomb County has a college at least. Some of the. I mean, it's not the best place ever, but it's not the worst place ever. It's probably average or whatever. And as far as our education goes, and I think it's could be a lot worse. But I think that paying teachers really, really more and paying them well. And funding the education system is just so important. You know what I mean? That will actually keep a lot of people from going to prison as well. Right. You know what I mean? Because if they're well educated, they're probably more likely to get a better job in theory. Even though we talked about how that's not always true. But even if they get a decent high school education, you know what I mean? And so it's not just complete crap. Then they're more likely to actually want to participate in the system and have a decent job too. So. Right.
Yeah, that's something else I wish the pandemic would have changed about society is all those workers that still had to work throughout everything that were essential. We need to give those workers more respect. Same thing with teachers, man. Every time I hear teachers, I feel for them.
Yeah,
that whole thing was
really,
horrible. And not only just paying people more money, but be respectful.
No one got their. I know they should have. Given everybody like that in those teaching type positions or in that field, I should say a big bonus, and I don't feel like society rewarded them. They didn't. And you're right about the essential workers. Even people who work at McDonald's, and grocery stores were absolutely essential. And they should have got some big bonuses from something. You know what I mean? And I know that in the state of Michigan they got a little, but I mean they really should have got
I wish they would have, all of them. Yeah. And then I also wish that they would have gotten more respect in society because a lot of those jobs aren't respected.
No.
At all. I mean, teachers, you can go in other countries and teachers are highly respected.
I would argue
Here
that
they're not. The role.
I would expand it further, though. I mean, as far as during the pandemic, specifically essential workers, I would include electricians and plumbers and everybody like that.
Yep.
Everybody in the trades who had to keep working. Mm-hmm. They should have got some big bonuses. They should have got some big, government should have just been like, here you go. Basically, here's like 25,000 for every single person who worked during the pandemic. You know what I mean? Who had to go in when everybody else was home.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Hiding or whatever. Like, yeah, you electricians and you plumbers and you people like that were still out there.
Yep.
And they should have got some. Society will never reward them. Never. It's just like, okay, whatever. Just move on. I mean, it's not that I get that we need to move on, but I mean, Jesus, like that's kind of the whole thing was handled
terribly.
Well, not terribly, because I mean they didn't. There's some good things that came of it actually. I wouldn't say terribly, but not. I feel like there were concepts like that during the time that just never came to fruition, and they maybe should have.
Yep.
Like, yep, somebody died to bring you your grapefruit to your store or whatever.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And now you're just like, yeah, fuck it. Yeah.
Yep.
Like, okay.
People died getting you your Amazon orders
too. Right.
And your mail.
Man. Anyway, that was a big tangent sidetrack.
Sorry, I went on a tangent.
Sorry. I think that we just need to. I need to become more involved with the Democratic Party probably, because I don't think the Republican Party would ever listen to me about this stuff. I think though the Republican Party should take note though that they need to start running more moderate candidates in places like purple states, at least like Michigan, and maybe in the future Ohio, and maybe in the future other states in the Midwest. Like they lost their moderate candidates. Mm-hmm. Could have won against some of the Democrats. Like Pete Meyer could have won in Grand Rapids. Mm-hmm. Instead, a Democrat now has that seat, possibly for a really long time now.
Right.
Because now she's going to be the incumbent next time. And so, I mean, like, so that's one, give up one for, anyway. So I think that the Republicans really, really, really need to start bringing it back down a level.
I think if you're conservative, you need to get away from Trumpistan.
Yeah, Trumpistan. That's a good word. Yeah. Maybe say, because I find myself in theory agreeing with some core conservative principles as far as because I agree with fiscal responsibility. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I agree with responsible gun ownership.
Right.
I agree with a lot of things like that, but I don't believe in Trumpistan. Mm-mm. You know what I mean? Like that's just come on. I don't think the thing is. I think a lot of people do, but it's a significant minority of people. Yep. You're not going to win elections on that platform.
Correct.
So. Hopefully this will teach them a lesson and they're going to get away from it. Maybe they'll be back to being the party of fiscal responsibility and not complete and utter insaneness.
Right.
Which is, at least fiscal responsibility is a principle.
Which is such a joke. I'm sorry, I have to
No, but at least it's something
that.
To believe in.
I know.
And that's other than, what I don't even know what the principle of Trumpism is. Yeah, other than just he's the winner, that's it. At least you're.
Everyone else is a loser.
You can say whether fiscal responsibility is real or not, because actually I agree with you. A lot of times when Republicans
we're always the ones balancing the budgets.
Yeah, when Republicans have had majorities in both houses and the presidency, they end up running up a huge national debt, and they all their
they
principles.
Just believe in corporate welfare instead of people
all their
welfare.
Principles tend to go out the window, but you never know. So you never know. Maybe they could actually live up to their expectations, Dwight D. Eisenhower.
But in order to do that, they definitely have to move away from Trump.
Yeah. Eisenhower was a good Republican.
Mm-hmm.
I would have voted for Eisenhower. He was awesome, man. So, I mean, it's he was the one who, warned everybody about the military-industrial complex. Mm-hmm. Isn't that far out?
Yeah, that is funny.
He was the one warning people about that at the time. It's crazy. I mean, you never would think of a Republican anymore doing something like that. That's what I'm saying. He actually had. What I'm saying is he had the best interests of the people at his heart. Whether you agreed or disagreed, and that's all. That's I could vote for a Republican maybe if that was the case. At least if I thought they had the best interests, of the people at heart. At least that would make me feel. I wouldn't even necessarily vote for him maybe, but I'd think about it at least. know.
Right.
So. A little thing I wanted to just kind of change subjects again on you here.
Sure.
Really quick. Over to guns. I know we don't want to do this very much.
Guns again.
Well, I was talking to a couple of people about this, but anyway, talk to people. It seems like everybody has an opinion, but I think that there was another couple of mass shootings, right? Since the last time we even did a podcast, it's just they're just continuing. There was the one at Walmart where a Walmart supervisor or something like that opened fire on his own employees and killed a bunch of them, like 6 or something like that. And then there was what was the other mass shooting actually?
The gay dance club.
Yeah, I can't even. I'm losing track. At this Colorado. Yeah, Colorado Springs, right? Yeah, yep, that one. And that was like the typical incel, complete asshole. They caught him alive? He shouldn't be alive. They should have killed him dead, but they didn't. Fucking asshole, man. I don't know. Maybe in some ways you're kind of like, well, good, they caught him alive. He'll have to suffer, because if they just would have killed him, he wouldn't have been able to suffer. But yeah, fucking douchebag that guy was. Shut up! What a drag queen thing going on or something like that. Anyway,
I thought it was just a dance club.
Was it just a dance club? I'm sorry. I thought it was actually
sure it was a dance club.
I thought there was something more than that going on.
No, it's like they went out to dance and then they died.
I thought there was a trans thing going on though, like at I don't know. Maybe I know it was a club, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, I think it was more than just a gay club.
Gay club shooting.
Is that all it was? All right. I don't know. I'm just like, what the fuck, that guy? Jesus fuck! Did you see his picture? I saw his picture. Holy shit! So what a piece of shit he is. I saw a picture of him after the fact, after he had the shit kicked out of him by the people in that place. Like, I don't want to say dudes, because, whatever you identify as.
The peoples. Yeah,
peoples. And like, holy shit, man. Like, I'm surprised they let him live, because they brought him down, man. They beat he was like, his face is all black and blue, like completely all beat up. But he was just like this fat incel fuck, and you're just like, what a fucker. Get the fuck out of your own head, And actually, okay, that's the argument right there that I'm seeing proposed is I don't see how this is possible, but there's a proposed ban on semi-automatic weapons.
Yep.
That I've seen multiple sources. Multiple sources are, I don't know if it's the media, but multiple places are talking about it, and people, seems like online, and just a total and utter ban on semi-automatic weapons, which I guess they're right. Most of the shootings are carried out by people with semi-automatic weapons. And that the argument, I guess, is that people are just fucking crazy, and if there's a bunch of semi-automatic weapons laying around, they're just going to go shoot people.
Right.
So the solution is then to get rid of semi-automatic weapons, and by semi-automatic, we need to be clear that does not mean automatic. So that means you have to pull the trigger for every bullet fired, but you can pull your trigger pretty quick. Ain't that right?
Yeah, that's totally right.
All right. So anyway, a total ban on semi-automatic weapons, which I own multiple semi-automatic weapons. Again, I actually said this. I would give them up in a heartbeat. If actually, you know what? If they thought if that would actually solve it, I would totally give them up. Fuck it. I don't need them. You know what I mean? What the hell do I need them for? I could use a bolt action to hunt deer with. I hunt deer. You know what I mean? I don't need a fucking semi-automatic rifle to hunt deer with. Although that's what I use. That's what I use sometimes. But I'm just saying like that. Or I have a semi-automatic 22. You know what I mean? It's just like for fun. But it's not. I don't fucking need it. Honestly, I don't. So if they actually came out with something saying that would actually solve the problem, fuck it, I'd be all for it. I just have yet to see. I don't know. Maybe it would be a solution. I don't know. I don't know if that's the solution. Then fine. But what do you think?
I think that I agree with this. Even though we said a little while ago we shouldn't push the gun ban stuff on people, but
well, I'm not arguing for any gun legislation in the state of Michigan.
No, I'm talking
this
about
is a separate issue. I'm talking about nationwide. Yeah. Nationwide, yeah,
because
for the shootings.
Saddens me. Sadden isn't even the word. It's just exasperating to open your news every single morning. I swear to God, there's a shooting somewhere, and yeah, it's not. Is it
the point of the federal government to sort of protect its citizens? Oh, this is another argument I heard, too, relating very much, that instead of shooters, we shouldn't call them shooters. We should call them terrorists.
Yep.
So we should say the terrorist who shot up that nightclub, the terrorist who shot up at Walmart. And maybe, I mean, actually, I like that idea because I think that's one of the best ideas I've seen in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, again, I think it was on Reddit or Facebook, probably Reddit, actually. Somewhere where I was reading it, online, just a random comment, but yeah, we should call them terrorists.
Yep.
Because that's what they are.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were any other country, if they were non-Christian, non-white people,
Yep.
really, mainly, that's really what it
Yep.
would be. If they were non-Christian, non-white people, they would totally be called terrorists.
Yep.
Actually, it wouldn't even matter if they were in another country. If they were in this country and if they were non-white,
Yep.
they would be called terrorists, I'm pretty
yeah.
sure.
Yep.
So, why are we not calling them terrorists?
Exactly.
Because, so they are terrorists. We need to treat them as such, and stop this shit. So, no, terrorists are not allowed to have fucking semi-automatic rifles.
Right.
You know what I mean? There you go. So maybe we just need to have more strict background checks when buying or selling a semi-automatic rifle. I don't know. I think that's something that actually interestingly, I think many people who actually own guns actually could agree with the background check thing. In this state, you have to have a background check, I believe, to buy a pistol. I don't know about a long gun. I've never heard of one for a long gun, but I have no idea, honestly. I've never bought a new one myself. So, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I don't understand the need for it.
Need for what?
Semi-automatic weapons.
Well,
I mean, other than, I get it. They're fun to shoot and pretend you're like in a video game or something, but you can do that at a shooting range.
Yes, and maybe they could do a thing where you
check them out like a library to play there, and that's
maybe
it.
you could actually buy a semi-automatic weapon. I've heard that argument too. I don't remember where, but you could keep your semi-automatic rifle at the shooting range. You could buy them, but just have the shooting range hold on to them and store them for you. I don't know. I feel like that's just not how this country works, though, man. Who goes to shooting ranges? Hell, no one out here. I mean, people do in the city.
Yeah.
People do closer to the metropolitan areas and stuff like that, but not in northern Michigan, not in Macomb County. I mean, people are going to go on their own property and shoot. They're going to go to a shooting range and get their gun. I mean, like, they're going to want to just go out back on the back 40 or whatever, you know what I mean, and blow away cans. So it's not...
So why couldn't they make a semi-automatic paint gun shooter thing that doesn't have an ability to kill a person? And then you can have the same fun.
They do.
Without having other people use those same weapons to kill lots of people.
I would suggest... I got to go back to the solution is... I think it's politically not feasible, the more I think about it, to ban the semi-automatic weapons, but maybe just to have strict background checks, at least.
What does that matter? Okay, what does that matter when you can buy the thing and you can take it home and your teenage son can just get into it and
you're right.
Take them and shoot people?
That's one of the big issues.
That's the problem.
That seems to be the problem.
The sons know the combinations.
This last kid that did it, I'm not saying that's where he got the gun. I don't know where he got the gun, but he was only like 19, wasn't he? And his dad is like a complete jackass. They interviewed his dad.
Yeah, not all parents are responsible.
He's a complete insane meth head from all accounts.
Right.
And like just nuts out there. You know what I mean? And so like that probably didn't do his son any favors now that he's going to prison for the rest of his life and possibly getting the death penalty. I don't know if they have one there, but God, I don't know. I just don't know how it's politically feasible. It's politically feasible, I think, in a lot of states where people don't own a shit ton of them, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of how you'd even implement that. Like a total ban. The only way you could even implement it is if you just ban the sale of new ones.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you could do that. But I don't know how you could ever get rid of the ones that are already out there. And there's like a bazillion. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure that would even solve anything at this point.
You're probably
and I'm not sure how you get rid of semi-automatic handguns, because that's like probably most of all handguns at this point too. You know? So I don't know. Maybe all I'm trying to say is maybe just force people to register. How about this? A compromise maybe, if you own a semi-automatic weapon of any kind, you have to register it.
Right.
If you do not register it,
and you're caught with
it, if you get pulled over or anything happens, they're taking that sucker. Mm-hmm. It's an unregistered firearm. Mm-hmm. It's illegal. But it does not apply to both actions. It does not apply to, you know what I mean? Right now it wouldn't anyway. But I'm saying like we'll just keep the law the same on everything else. But yeah, if you get caught with that semi-automatic 22 that you have, you know what I mean, or whatever it is, like me, and I didn't register it, and I'm transporting it in my car, and let's say I just get pulled over because my blinker's out or something like that, you search my car for whatever reason, and they find that 22, that's theirs.
Yep.
And they're going to melt that fucker down or whatever they do. And I have to live with that. And they're going to fine me. And they could potentially take me to jail.
Yep.
You know, that there should be some harsh ass penalties if you are caught with an unregistered semi-automatic firearm. Maybe we should just say that for starters as a compromise. Because I just don't see how it's politically feasible to ban them.
Right.
Does that make sense? It's just and the thing is, they need to, doing it on a statewide basis is just ridiculous because you're just going to go to the next state and get it. I mean, like, it's just, I don't even know how that affects
how you could get the sales of the guns that are already there, that are
it has
already
to be
in the
nationally
community,
too.
is just ban the sale of semi-automatic bullets. So there's nothing they can shoot.
That's a nice theory. There's
I
no
don't
such,
know.
there's no such thing as a, I mean, that's nice, but there's no such thing as a semi-automatic bullet. They're the same
You can
bullets.
tell I don't shoot.
They're the
very
same
much.
bullets, so
Okay.
it's not going to matter either
dang it.
way.
I'm trying to think of a way of doing
Ban
it.
the bullets. I suppose,
Ban the
but they-
bullets.
No one's shooting anything without
Age
bullets.
limits on the bullets.
They could raise the. Yeah, I don't know.
Make it
I don't know how old you have to be to
18.
buy a gun even. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's 18 already. You can't just buy
Everything
a
would
gun.
have to be 18 because
Well, it probably is
of the
18.
army.
No, it is 18 though. It's 21.
I don't know
even,
what the
I think.
rules are. I don't
You
buy
can't just like walk into a gun shop and buy a gun if you're 16 years old.
Okay.
But I mean, you can buy one from a friend,
That's true.
and that's how you're going to get it if you're
Yeah.
going to,
Yeah,
you know. But most likely, you're just going to use your parents, like you said. So your parents are going to be background checked and all happy and good and everything, no matter what. And they're, you know, they're the ones providing you with the firearms to go commit the atrocity, like in Oxford.
Which
you
is
know?
why they were going to go for the...
That's what just happened
Parents,
in
yeah.
Michigan,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
earlier this year. So like
Yeah.
that's yeah.
I don't know. Brighter minds than mine have tried to figure this out.
No. There has to be a solution, but it has to be. I know it's not going to get done on the national level, but it needs to be done on the national level because seriously, it's not going to matter unless you do it nationally anyway.
Right.
It's
And all of the
I think
countries-
the state should just leave it. I still think the state Democrats need to leave it alone. They just need to leave it alone. They're only giving weapons really. I mean, really to their enemies, political enemies. I mean, they're only going to lose
They're gonna
elections.
shoot their own foot with
It's a losing battle in Michigan.
Yep.
This is like a hunting and fishing state. Let the DNR regulate it. Stay the fuck out of it. You know what I mean? You know, which I don't know if the DNR is the best, but that's what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. Fine, ban them.
What, my face? I
Yeah.
just don't know what the solution is really because there's so many guns out there right now. Like, there's probably so many that aren't.
Oh,
even
there's more
registered
guns than.
that
I don't know. I
are
just read a statistic
semi-automatic
about it. I think there might be
specifically.
more guns than people in the United States.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So it's like you can't even. Again, though, that's the call, right? Ban semi-automatic weapons. So I
The
don't know.
countries that have done it though have had
It
a
can work. I agree
lowered
with
this
you.
mass shooting.
I
levels.
actually do agree. In theory, if they did it, it probably could work. But
I don't know if
you don't want to have it. It ain't
population. Mm-hmm.
worth it if you're gonna have a civil war over it. So how is that helping anything?
Right.
So I mean, you know, and I don't think that banning. I feel like banning semi-automatic weapons in a way was started maybe even on the right to try to troll the Democrats into falling for something, because again, I don't think I don't think Democrats. A lot of them are not gun people, so they don't know the difference between a semi-automatic and an automatic. So they think when they hear semi-automatic, it means automatic. So they think people are walking around with machine guns, blowing up schools with machine guns, when that's not the case most of the time. And it's just they're using, you know. So you can't anyway. You know, they're using semi-automatic weapons. That's true, but you have to pull the trigger each time. You know, so it's not like they're just. It's not like the old, you know, they're not using Tommy guns. Maybe that's where some automatic weapons need to go. They need to become like Tommy guns. They need to be for the collectors and, you know, gun shows and specialty items and, you know, a relic of the past. So I could see that. You know, that I would be okay with that.
I
But
think even the conservatives know this is a huge problem. and they're trying to sidestep the pressure to be on the mental health industry, because I've heard them talk about mental health industry. There needs to be mental health checks, and that they're okay with that. But that's not going to catch everybody, especially the situation where a relative gets a hold of the gun and does the crime with it. A child gets the crime, all those situations. It won't help those situations. So I don't even know how to scoop them up, really, other than banning the weapons to begin with. The semi-automatic ones, not all things. I still want people to be able to hunt. Just not hunting people.
Yeah, no hunting people. You hear that? Stop hunting people.
You terrorists out there, you're not shooters, you're terrorists. Stop it.
Yeah, terrorists, stop hunting people, terrorists. White Christian terrorists.
Yep.
Stop it. And that's what they are. They're white Christian terrorists. So
like Timothy McVeigh.
call it spade a spade. Yep. I mean, that's seriously.
Juniors.
I think they do. They take it too easy on these people.
Yep.
The news takes it way too, especially if it's a white male. And it's like, you know.
Are you serious? If they were a person of color, they'd have been
happy.
dead at the scene.
Well, I don't think that. Yeah, you're right.
I
probably.
do think
I just
that.
say like that's not even what I'm trying to say.
I know.
It's just the labels matter. I think if they were a person of color, they would have been labeled a terrorist. Just no doubt. I mean, especially if it was people of color, time and time again, okay, they definitely would start to be labeled terrorists. And that's the point, is to terrorize.
Yep.
That is what these dudes want to do.
Yep.
They want to terrorize.
Yep.
They want to terrorize gay
That's the
people,
definition
or they
of
want
it.
to terrorize. Like this guy wanted to terrorize gay people.
I think
they want to terrorize their coworkers. They want to terrorize their schoolmates. That is their goal. So, I don't see why they're not called that.
I think they should be prosecuted under terrorist laws, and also for the instances where it's like a Jewish synagogue or a gay club, it should be a hate crime too. They should have double time for that.
I was under the assumption it already was a hate crime at that point, but I guess I don't know.
I don't know, but just to make sure, they should be in forever. Ever. Yeah. Never let out. If they're going to do that, I don't know. I don't understand a human that could hit. I just don't understand how you could do that. Unless you're completely removed from reality.
Yeah, you're completely removed from reality. If you're
I could see even in times of war. I understand those types of situations where you're trained to do this, and you have to be trained to do that. It's not a normal human instinct. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
But we're not talking about normal. We're talking about abnormal. So these people have the abnormal brain.
Yeah.
Like in Young Frankenstein,
Correct.
how there's normal and abnormal.
Yes.
Like he accidentally grabs the abnormal one or whatever. That's what this guy's brain is. It's the abnormal brain. So he apparently doesn't have the instinct not to do it. He had the instinct to do it, and there were many, many firearms laying around enabling them to do it.
Yep.
But it's not to say that if they were in London or something, they might have just done a mass stabbing. Right. But I think also if they were in London and they did a mass stabbing, they also would have been labeled a terrorist.
Yes.
Not a mass stabber. So I don't know, maybe. but I think that they would have been labeled a terrorist. You know what I mean? That's what I think. Or if they hit somebody kill a bunch of people with a truck or something like that, they'd be labeled a terrorist. In a European country. And so I think we need to get back to labeling. Not get back. We never have labeled white people terrorists, unfortunately. Was the Unabomber even labeled a terrorist?
I don't think so, but he
called him
been.
the Unabomber, like he was a celebrity or something in the 90s. It's just oh, the Unabomber. It's just
no, he was a terrorist.
Because he was a white guy? Is that
domestic
why?
terrorism.
Yeah, I know.
That's what it is. Domestic terrorism.
Yep. All right. I think we need to start wrapping it up here, though.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I think we could go on for days about different things
I could
this.
keep on going and going and going on this particular issue, but I think that it's not going to solve anything, and I wish it would. But I like to get at least get people thinking about it. A few 4 or 5 listeners
thinking about it differently is what we need to do. Is think about the whole situation differently, and I think everybody that has any sense in their head wants to have a solution to it. I mean, whether you're on either side of the aisle, I just think that nobody wants to broach the subject of banning outright. I think.
Well, I think a lot of people want to broach it. I mean, that's what I'm noticing. But I mean, I think that no one actually has the political. There's not a political
force to do it. Is what I mean.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of people want to talk big, or talk about whatever to start a controversy. But yeah, it's easier said than done.
Right.
See, I mean, really, that's what I think too. In my head, I'm like, why don't we just ban them?
Right.
And then I get into the nitty gritty.
Thinking about it, I'm like,
like,
how are we going to make it work? How are we going to
no
make it happen?
way. There's no way.
There's no way.
In a lot of places in this country. I mean, in some places you could do it maybe, but...
And it works in other countries because our country has a certain personality type, and the personality type of Americans is, we're independent.
Yeah.
And don't mess with our independence.
It's optimistic, too. I mean, it's optimism, I think. But it's also to a fault, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like we can fix this without actually taking the obvious solution.
Yeah.
We're going to take every other possible thing, try everything else before doing the obvious thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like before let's do the hardest possible things.
Yeah, first.
And just get as,
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. I think we need to wrap it up, though.
All right.
So,
He's wrapping it in the wrapper.
I'm trying to think of what are we going to talk about next time? Maybe we should have like a preview. Should we start doing previews for the next episode?
Yeah, but we can't because sometimes things happen like quick
Yeah,
in the news cycle
you're
we want to talk about. There's so many things.
You're
Anyway.
All right. With that, we're going to say Bama P.
Goowabaman.
Goowabaman.
Happy holidays.
Motherfucker. Happy holidays.
Motherfuckers.
All right.